Hello and welcome to iGame 613, and today I want to talk about some important information. I think it's important, at least I know myself, about these infamous black squares. As you can see right now, these little black squares have been puzzling people for such a long time, and I have finally solved it. Now what it actually is, if you don't know about these squares, they actually spawn right underneath where the Fort Zancudo UFO spawns, right underneath the bunker. And if you've 100% completed your game and you go under the ground with using mods or whichever method you find to actually check, you can actually go down there and you'll see these squares, and this middle one here will be spinning, and I believe the other ones may be spinning, I'm not 100% sure though, but definitely the middle one is. And if you actually look at it once you're down there, it's just a black square and it's doing absolutely nothing. Now, I've actually found out how these squares actually work, and basically what it is they are triggers, and most people already assumed this anyway. They assumed it was spinning round to match the speed of the actual spinning sun thing that you see in the middle of the actual light mural, should we call it, that spawns on top of the actual bunker at 3 AM. But it's actually got another use as well. So what these actually do, they're actually underground things that are hidden, and they're actually hidden in the underground bit where it's all grey, kind of like this is actually at the moment on this actual app that I'm using called OpenIV. And basically what it does is, when you are actually not inside of the UFO and you can't actually see the UFO, it'll just remain black or whatever it needs to do. But when you're actually in the area of the UFO, something important and cool happens to this little square in the middle. Now what will happen is it'll add the texture to itself, and the texture will come up like this. Ding! See? It's all there now. And I'll actually show you this texture in a bigger form. I just need to get the right one. And that's the one there. And you'll see it says the segregate rearrange. It's got these little markings you see on the actual ship. That's off the actual little camera spinny thing that happens on the bottom of the actual ship. And you've got these other markings as well from the windows. So this is one window here, that's the other window there, a little piece there of it as well, and all that kind of stuff that you find actually on the UFO. Now a lot of these textures here are reused, so like if you like certain spots on their own, then it's actually taken from these ones here, and it's pretty interesting, I think. Now the other things that it actually controls is this light here. So this is the light that you see spinning around on top of the actual bunker, and this is what is actually speed matching when you see it spinning round. So what I'll have it is like an anchor point. So if we go back to OpenIV, I'll actually show you back to, not that one, that's too early. I can actually show you back to that one. So each of the corners will have an anchor point, and they will anchor onto part of the sun, and it'll be here, 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 and here, or something like that. And that'll spin around, and that's where it's actually mirroring onto this. So the actual point of the actual square is directly under this rather than the UFO. And since we all know the UFO moves slightly forward and backwards, it can't actually stay in that one place, otherwise you'll see the square moving like that. So it's actually anchored onto these four sides here or something like that. Or maybe it's this one, this one, this one, and this one. You never know, it could be either or. I'd actually assume these ones, because you can see like a little slit in the middle there, and that could be where the lateral line connects into. I don't know, but the actual square itself is just a thing that Rockstar are using to actually speed match this thing, and so they can actually make it spin around without actually having to do some awkward stuff that you can see glitching through the ground and stuff. So they hide it underneath the ground and then just put it in like this. And I've also got extra proof of this happening if we actually go to the other UFO that we can find. So we can find this UFO here. This is mainly known for being the alien camp UFO, but the actual trigger of this one, which if I have the right pictures, which is this actual base here, we can actually find that over at Mount Chiliad. And I'll just open up a picture, and if you actually look underneath the base at I believe it's 3 AM with the storm, if you actually look underneath this little base station here where you can actually view the actual UFO from, and I'll actually go to our pictures, so look there, you got the UFO spawned up. These will actually spawn underneath that base station, but you have to go underneath the actual ground again to actually see these, and you'll see two little layers. You see there's one here, you'll see the one below it just here, and you can actually still see the UFO just top corner up here. And these are actually what mirror the actual logos and stuff onto the actual UFO. Of course, we all know this UFO over here at Mount Chiliad does have all the same type of signs and stuff like this here, so you can see it spin around and you've got the FIB logos and stuff. And if we go back to this picture here, you'll see this is the FIB bit that you actually see spinning around it. You've got the white lights, you've got the multicolored lights, and you've got the blue dotted lights that you see underneath the ship. And when you actually see the actual UFO spinning around incorrectly, to the point where the actual FIB logo don't fit in the gap properly, this is the actual little red mark that we see. So if we go into that a bit closer, and hopefully you can see that a bit better, but that's the little red mark that you see. And that's just like a little marker to point where it should be. And if you actually play PS3 or Xbox 360, should I say, you'll actually see that it just spin around just like this, without actually glitching or anything. And it's pretty cool. And that's pretty much what that is. Now you can go flying through into these and stuff like this. And you see yourself inside it and you go, ooh, look at this, it looks like Portal's elevator. But that's pretty much all you can do, and there's not really much else you can actually do. There's no actual interior to them like you do see where Michael gets abducted. And there's only pretty much basic stuff inside it, which is pretty cool, but still, it's not as cool as it could have been. Now there's all little cool things that I'll show you, such as the actual Zancudo UFO. As you can see, there's all blue lights and lights. Here's the actual lights here, so see these yellow pieces that I showed you earlier on the actual picture, which should come up here. So you've got the other spotlight there, you got this blue one there, you got these pictures here. So this is the last window on each side, and that's the middle window on each side, and I'll show you that up again. So there you can go for the end one and the middle ones. So it's just reused again and again and again. You got segregate, rearrange, all the dots and stuff and all the markings are all exactly the same. So I don't think you need to actually put these together in a certain order, because it's all just the same. For some reason as well, it's got like footprints on it, so I don't know what that's all about. It's pretty interesting how it has little footprints, so you can see them quite well there actually. And it's a little bit crazy, to be honest, but I don't really know. I don't really care, to be honest. Now when this UFO spawns, you see it with like this little thing here. You may have just seen this in the other pictures I was showing, but basically this is what it does, and this is how it renders itself in. So this is actually part of the actual UFO, and I don't know why they actually have this. I thought it's just like a little glitchy thing when it's actually loading, but it seems to have this actual whole thing here, which is actually meant to be there. So that's quite weird and odd and kind of cool at the same time. Now another few things I've noticed about this is, like I say, these little markings here, the segregate, rearrange, that's all cool. But if we actually go inside the UFO, if you actually look at his leg, it's got part of the word segregate on it. And then you start noticing these little lines here. These are all like the little broken pieces, so like there's not actually any on that screen, but you know the pieces I mean, with like a zigzaggy underneath and stuff. Then you got like a window shape here. So if I go back to actually this picture, so you can see these like zigzag lines on him and these actual window pieces. And it's what it's basically done is, over the dummy models, it's actually just pasted this actual skin over them. So if you're actually clever enough, you could actually make the UFO look totally different and weird, but actually have the guys looking like they've got faces and stuff if you actually skinned it, so it actually works for them over the UFO. But that'll take a lot of work, and I'm not prepared to do it myself, so that's what I'm definitely not going to do. But other than that, that's this UFO pretty much done with. Let's just have a quick nosy. Oh yeah, there's this as well. So this is a collision file for it, so if you actually notice you start floating over it when you're walking on it, it's because this is actually slightly bigger than it. And we can put our little lines on here so we can actually see it a bit better. And it's actually quite thick, the actual thing, so you can imagine how the actual UFO would actually fit in this, and it's got like its little force field. And there's this little spine lights, so you can see that kind of there, and spikes. And it's just basically a force field that's meant to be there. So obviously that could be taken away. Whether they actually mean for you to do that or not, I don't know. But it's the same for the other UFO as well. That's got its base there, same type of spikes and stuff can come out of it. And this is actually the basing over at Mount Chiliad, so you've got your little station there where you can stand on, and that's where the UFO is compared to it. So this is the very top of Chiliad, and that's the edge of Chiliad where the actual UFO spawns. But yeah, like I say, there's actually nothing inside it. So even if it was solid, then there won't be anything to go into. And here we go, as you can see, that's the picture we saw earlier, but from the other side pretty much. And I'll show you that again. So there we go, like this. So you got the bottom one there, the top one there, and you got the actual UFO further back over the other side. So that's pretty cool. The only other things I've got left to show you pretty much from this is I found the actual sea UFO in the files. Not really much to say about it, to be honest, but it's exactly the same as the other UFO, to be honest, as well, that you see on top of on top of Chiliad. It's got the thrusters and stuff, and it's got the lights things underneath. So when this crashed, I don't actually know, but the only thing it doesn't have is the FIB logos, but you never know, it could be under some of that grease. But let's see what happens with that in the future. The last few things I want to show is the alien head. Here he is. An interesting thing I did see in the files about this is actually this one's called V58 Alien Head YDR. But there's actually other files in there as well, which are for the movie Alien, they call it as well. So there's two totally separate ones. So these are actual aliens, the other ones are actually movie aliens. And it's kind of cool. You actually see like the models of the guys' heads are underneath this mask as well on the actual movie ones. But since this is a proper alien, maybe it's just for that one Michael mission, or maybe it's actually an alien invasion that we could expect in a DLC. That's all just being hopeful though. Last but not least, we have the infamous egg. Now, depending on what lighting you put on this, it depends on how it looks. So I'm not sure if you've ever seen anyone else's modded live streams or whatever, but it's like this is the base colour. But if you have it in daylight, it'll be green. If you have it in nightlight, it'll go super bright green, like it's glowing almost. And if you have it in snow, it just goes perfectly white. So it's kind of a weird thing that's going on with this. I don't actually know what it is. I'm guessing it's like a chrome interior to it or something that just reflects the current lighting. But I don't know. So I hope you actually enjoyed this video. If you found anything information or anything informative about this, then leave a like please, because it helps the channel grow. Other than that, I'm glad to actually finally solve what these little blocks are. So this is actually solved pretty much now, I should say. Obviously there's still more mysteries to actually solve from this, and how to actually get the UFOs to drop their force fields, how to see if you can actually fly the UFOs. I actually doubt that's a thing in game, to be honest myself, but it's still a thing to look for. And also the infamous jetpack, the spectrometer. So by no means this has actually solved any mysteries, but it's just solved what these actual squares mean and what they actually do in the game. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.